Sweeney, here with some Movember mental health outreach for November 13th, 2021. Clearly, I am not doing content every day. It just wasn't sustainable, but I'm trying to get out as much as I can. I am maintaining my promise to grow a mustache in November. I'm, right up to junior high student as of the 13th. So today I want to talk about something that's very personal for me, which is ADHD. ADHD is an initialism for attention deficit hyperactive disorder, although that's kind of a misnomer because for a lot of people with ADHD, there's not a deficit of attention. There's just very selective attention. In fact, in many cases, you can have a surplus of attention, what you call hyperfocus, focus on something to the expense of everything else. You can see that when people with ADHD take on a new hobby or suddenly, get overwhelmed with a desire to clean their house, even though they, have a paper that's due that day. So ADHD, a lot of what the symptoms that you see are actually symptoms of a brain that is in a constantly dopamine-seeking state. So if you see someone, who's in an inattentive phase, who has trouble focusing or is running around, unable to just focus on one thing and get it done, that would be, probably the thing that they're being asked to do does not provide a great deal of dopamine for them. And so the overcoming that lack of reward in the brain is very difficult. Whereas if you see someone who's completely focused on something, a lot of times a video game, because video games are basically really, really well-tuned dopamine pumps. So it's really easy for folks with ADHD to get very obsessed with video games because they provide microdoses of dopamine almost constantly. Or a new hobby, that's that hyperfocus. That's finding something that is a reliable source of dopamine and going back to that well again and again. So ADHD is 3 times more likely to be diagnosed in boys than it is in girls, most likely because boys have externalized symptoms of ADHD, whereas girls tend to internalize them. Both men and women can go into adulthood with undiagnosed, untreated ADHD, although it is more likely for women because of the disparity in diagnosis. And in men, when they reach adulthood with untreated ADHD, often misdiagnosed as manic depressive or bipolar. You see the internalized symptoms of why can't I just do what everyone else can do? And then you couple that with the hyperfocus, it becomes pretty obvious where you could get bipolar or manic depressive from that. Treatment for ADHD, a lot of treatment options are stimulant meds. Adderall is a very popular one. I take Adderall every day. It's been a lifesaver for me. Of course, because a lot of people like to party with Adderall in this country, every 30 days I have to talk to a medical provider, pay my copay, do all of that to get my prescription refilled, which is really, really excellent when you have a neurological condition that makes you forgetful and difficult to stay on routine, that every 30 days you have to do something very unpleasant. New treatments are being worked on that more directly affect the dopamine sectors of the brain, and fingers crossed those are going to be coming to market, and we'll have something different than the stimulant meds, what they provide. So in a nutshell, that's ADHD. Again, a condition that affects a lot of people, a condition that can present very differently in different people. And unfortunately, one that's often misunderstood and can lead to other comorbidities like high rejection sensitivity, dysphoria, and depression. So that is what I got. I appreciate your time as always, and have a great rest of your Saturday. All right.